Anyway, let's get to our first topic, which is we'll separate this into two separate things because I think they're interesting. They kind of bleed into one another, but we'll separate them and we'll talk about Jonathan Majors and the fact that Variety, and this is why I'm separating them. The fact that Variety have picked up on an exclusive that there are more alleged victims. Again, I have to keep using these kind of terms. Obviously, we don't know yet. He may be innocent. Alleged victims of domestic abuse coming forward, and they're cooperating with the district attorney's office. It's interesting because if Variety has good sources and this is actually legitimate, this corroborates what instantly came out the moment Jonathan Majors was arrested, which was all over Twitter. Multiple people, 2 people, came forward and said he's a sociopath, an abuser, and we won't out the people that he's abused, but he has. Everyone in the industry knows it. He's an abuser. If this is true, then it corroborates that, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all because I guess it builds a character reference of who this chap is for the DA to move forward with pressing charges. But the Variety article says sources familiar with the matter tell Variety that multiple alleged victims of Majors have come forward following his March arrest and are cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. The prospect of more women waiting in the wings would mark a dramatic turn in the case and comes on the heels of Majors' publicist and management firm cutting ties with the embattled actor earlier this week. The district attorney did decline to comment. There is another interesting element here, and we'll cover this moving forward anyway, but it's the comment from his attorney, Priya Chowdhury, that says, Jonathan Majors is innocent and has not abused anyone. We have provided irrefutable evidence, we'll get to that, to the district attorney that the charges are false. We're confident that he will be fully exonerated. But then further to that, the thing which is interesting here is that the individual that is Jonathan Majors' crisis publicist is fucking Priya Chowdhury, his attorney's husband, right? Andrew Burke. Completely different name, but that is the husband of Priya Chowdhury. So not good. You know, this is the individual that I feel like there's kind of like a conflict of interest of some description there. I don't think it's very good. It doesn't look good. But this is the individual that keeps providing said evidence to people.
I would say it's more of a common interest, but I think the bigger issue here is where are we seeing this compared to the other news, which we'll get to here soon?
Yeah,
this is in Variety. This is a very reputable paper. And not only that, it's an industry paper.
Well, so that's the thing, is it? So Andrew Burke, the crisis publicist for Jonathan Majors, hasn't been contacting Variety. Hasn't been contacting anyone with that is deemed to be legitimate, you know, within the industry of journalism as a whole, right? I think that's pretty, pretty blanket statement, but rings pretty true. Andrew Burke, crisis publicist for Jonathan Majors, has been heading over to TMZ the whole time.
Yeah,
which we will get to, but it doesn't look good anyway. Just like fucking. Your team is terrible at this point in time. Awful. And then interestingly, Variety did have a statement from someone that is working with Jonathan Majors on an upcoming project that has kept anonymous. And it is exactly what we've all said. So as per the text messages, this individual who was due to be working with Majors on an upcoming project says it read like a bad Lifetime movie. They basically look like the text messages of a textbook abused woman, which is what everyone else said, aside from a lot of random. There was a bunch of YouTubers that were like, he's slam dunk, they've got him. It's like, no, mate, this looks real bad. So, thoughts, multiple abuse victims coming forward. What do we think? Andre, you always have some good snippets.
Well, multiple is a number which only means more than 2. You have like 1, 2, multiple. Is it 3? Is it 15? Is it 20? That we do not know. Why did they not come forward sooner? Well, we know that these are the ones already working with the district attorney. That tells me that probably there has been an investigation process behind the scenes. The police have checked around. They have found, okay, these are then the people that haven't come forth, but that we now hear rumors are the ones that he has done nasty stuff to before. And then they have contacted them, explained, okay, here is something where you need to testify. And then they're like, okay, fine, I'll give. I did not want this to define me and my career, but fine, in this situation, I shall do it. I think that is what has happened, because if it was some cloud chaser or something like that, they would have come in a big full spread and said, he did this to me. He was so horrible. Oh, by the way, check my webpage, right? Check my OnlyFans. That didn't happen. This is someone that has not come out in public and have said anything. So I believe that the DA had to locate them, talk with them. So I think there's every reason to suspect that these more than 3 have a very compelling case. Because otherwise, we wouldn't be hearing about them this way. They would be like some kind of centerfold spread, showing their sad faces and everything, using it as an opportunity to gain more fame. That's not happening here. So I think that these they seem somewhat credible, the accusations, just for that reason alone. As for his attorneys, you are right. That is a very clear conflict of interest, because you can like say, okay, fine, here you have like 2 different attorneys covering 2 different things, and maybe the husband and wife don't talk to each other at all about legal matters, but still,
they absolutely do. Let me just quickly interject. So it's not 2 attorneys. It's not 2 attorneys. It's his attorney and his crisis publicist. And the attorney is feeding the crisis publicist all the evidence. So
this is not a good look. And also, I don't think that he has a very good team left working with him.
They are atrocious.
The good people, they are the ones that already dropped him. So the ones that are left, I think, are like people he found on his own, people he knew or something like that. And I think they are even worse than you give them credit for. No, here's why. All this like exonerating evidence, it appeared not in Variety, not in Deadline Hollywood, not even in Vanity Fair, but in TMC.
Yeah, we'll get to that, and also what the evidence actually is.
But, we'll get to the evidence, but you know why I think it's in TMC as opposed to any of the others?
Well, because the others would vet it properly.
TMC pays more.
Well, also they vet it.
Pay more. I think that this is pure speculation. I do not know this. I could be way off, but just looking at the evidence, this is obviously someone that has the evidence. I think that this is like this crisis manager that was like, okay, we need to get the word out here, and I'm gonna get as much money for myself as I can in the process, because this guy, he ain't gonna have money to pay me for long. So I'm gonna put this to TMC, and then it can spread to all of the other trades from there, and I'll be left with a bigger paycheck for it.
I think TMZ does pay for exclusives.
They do,
and you're right. What we have here is multiple accusers, or at least people that will corroborate, is what we're seeing here. So maybe these are people that stepped forward before, but there wasn't enough evidence to go after Majors previously, or they're people who, like you said, popped up in the course of the investigation. But what we don't have is multiple supporters. Right. I think that's the bigger thing we have here, is a bigger problem, is you don't have a bunch of people like with Johnny Depp coming out of the woodwork going, this is bullshit. I dated him for 3 years. He never laid a hand on me. Or a friend from high school saying, oh, this is completely out of character. Whoever said this stuff is making this crap up. You don't have not one single person. Even his girlfriend who's involved in this can't even legitimately come out and say it's all bullshit, because we've seen her texts.
Tom, according to TMC, his girlfriend is now his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, so I'm surprised that they're not going back after him again after this fact. But yeah, before we jump too far ahead in the TMZ article, that's the other problem, is you have, I agree with Andre that that's probably where the money's at. And not only that, the type of things that they're positing in that TMZ article about how this would have to be a huge conspiracy with the DA and the police and all this bullshit. Yeah. You know what that's starting to sound like? Angelina Jolie all over again.
Yeah.
And Amber Heard all over again. So,
well, again,
but it's on the wrong end here. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, again, let's not jump too far ahead.
Sorry with that, but like I said, he's got no support coming out of this. We don't know what these people are going to corroborate or say about his past, but it's obviously not going to be good. And I think this is overshadowing whatever TMZ has. And like I said, you can get to that. So we'll let Culture comment on this part of it before we jump to that. So yeah, that's all I really have to add to what Andre already said. Yeah.
But Tom, what you reacted to is absolutely correct. I mean, the fact that there isn't an uprising of support behind him is telling. Just like, as Andre pointed out, having his management of every type abandon him is telling. Having projects canceled, having a designer fade away into the background, like we talked about on Tuesday. I guess it was Valentino, right?
It was Valentino.
Having all of these things happen is telling. Other people have more information than we do, and it's it was one of the points I made in the video that I made about the subject. It's like Disney knows there are other shoes and they're going to drop. So and we'll speak about that in a minute. I imagine his future, but for now, having this team operate the way that they are, as Nate described, I mean, all of this is telling. It's all building up. The culmination of all of these things is very specific. This guy is having his career removed from him.
Oh, yeah.
At every flag, right? At every checkpoint. That's happening every time. And I don't see it. I do not see a positive outcome for him, even if he goes to court and even if he is, secured, an acquittal, right? I don't think there's zero upside for him. None. Yeah. It's
I think the problem is here, if he is innocent, his lawyer and publicists are not doing him any favors.
No.
But so going back to what you were saying anyway, with respect to, the uprising of support, the non-existent uprising of support, it is really telling. And it's one of those things that whenever you discuss this, everyone always goes, she's going to be an Amber Heard. And you go, okay, but, in that scenario, there was a huge uprising of support, unanimous uprising of support for Johnny Depp. Everyone he'd ever been with, everyone he had ever been with supported him. Yeah. There was no one that came out and supported, aside from Amber Heard's friends, direct individuals.
Kate Moss even traveled to the States to support him.
The closest I remember is there was somebody who was like talking about, he was late to the set one day, but it had something to do, I think, with him visiting a hospital or some shit like that. So it didn't even help her case. Like, there was only one other person who said something like, he was having some issues getting to set on time, and all this was brought up in the court case. But I was surprised his lawyers didn't pinpoint, going like, okay, so when was the time period of this? Oh, during all the drama with her? Maybe that's the reason. That's the thing, is any other time... What was that? Sorry, Nate.
Well, I was just going to say, but appearing late in court, appearing late to set, got nothing to do with, being an abuser, which was the claims that
No. They were just corroborating that, he had been drinking heavily, showing up late to set and being depressed and withdrawn. But then again, if you corroborate the time of when this is happening, it's during the worst of times with Amber, right? Yeah. So again, I'm not trying to go back to that case. But again, you have none of that here, like you're saying, Nate. Like none of the support that Johnny had.
Literally nothing at all.
And again, I want to believe he's innocent until proven guilty, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important to reiterate through all of this, because we've got a further article to take a look at, because there was a development from the Variety article, which we'll cover in a minute. But throughout all of this, it's important to maintain that no one here is saying he's guilty, because we just don't know.
No.
It's a case of, here's the evidence that's being presented to us from both sides, which looks more legitimate. Well, the evidence against him, unfortunately, but still, it will go to court, because it is going to court May 8th, and we will find out then.